Hello, my name is Janice B. Gordon, and this is Scale Your Sales Podcast. Welcome to Scale Your Sales Podcast, listed number 9 of 43 best podcasts for every sales professional. I am Janice B. Gordon, the customer growth expert, recommended by LinkedIn Sales as one of 15 innovating sales influencers to follow. So in today's episode, my guest talks about sales enablement and really how that's changed and over the last years. It's not something that's just new. It started off with all the sales training, but now it's encompassed so much more to enable the sales function as a whole to sell. She gave us her background and how she started her own organization based in Singapore, and the links and the nominations that it's continued to have as it's grown. My next guest is the founder of the E-University for Sales, the Asia Pacific and Sales Marketing Academy. Renowned for its industry-endorsed accredited sales training programs, certifications, sales audits, and assessments. Boasting a global reach, her multifaceted approach encompasses the 360 business, GTM, inside, and digital sales review, advisory, and support services. She serves as the Singapore chapter president for AA-ISP and the founding fellow for Association of Professional Sales, now known as the Institute of Sales Professionals. Receiving numerous accolades and recognition. Welcome to Scale Your Sales Podcast, Zeenath Kuraisha.
Hey, hi, Janice. Thank you for having me with you today.
Well, it's wonderful. As we said at the top, that it's probably been 2 years trying to align dates to get you on the podcast. Now, for people that don't know, both of us are part of the Women's Sales Pros, which is I'm the only one in London. You're the only one in Singapore as well. So we're representing the globe, aren't we? Because many of
Yes, we are.
our colleagues are in the US. So I met Zeenath about 2 years ago at the Women's Sales Pro, but I've actually been following her for many years and been trying to kind of get closer. I want to do more work in Asia, so she's the person to know. And when you know, I've read out her bio and, you know, all that she's done, so really keen to dig into that. So first of all, tell me about kind of sales enablement and, you know, sales tech, because the sales tech stack has grown so much and enablement really didn't exist, what, 6-10 years ago. So, and I know this is your kind of area. So tell me more about, you know, the challenge between the two.
Sure. So I think, you know, there's a lot of buzzwords every time, right? And then we always have like from telemarketing to inside sales to digital sales to virtual sales. Similarly, you know, people think that sales enablement is something that that was just emerged in the last 10 years. But honestly, I mean, the way you look at it, we used to do a lot of training before, right? We used to do onboarding training programs for our new hires. We used to do continuous professional development programs. We used to do assessments on our colleagues, you know, to see if there's any skills gap that exists. We used to look at CRM systems back then. We used to look at reports, Excels and dashboards, you know, so we used to do all this kind of stuff in the past, but it's just that technology has evolved so much that, you know, we have a lot of different apps and tools and AI that can support a lot of these things. So sales has, you know, sales leaders or sales operations or sales processes can really be efficient in the way they operate. You know, how do we cut down on mundane stuff? How do we cut down and improve on the administration stuff? How can we report data, or can we look at insights and analytics of our customers or our accounts in a more fast manner? Right? Like we used to take hours and hours of research. You know, how can we simplify this within 5 minutes before I walk into the customer, for example? All this is possible with sales technology that's available. When you talk about sales enablement, this function is really, it has just evolved the way it is. And I think companies have seen the necessity to have a focused function for sellers, someone who can really look at sellers enablement, sellers onboarding readiness, making sure they got content, buyer facing contents, making sure that they can really give attention and focus to sales leaders across any emerging, any geographies, regions, or countries to 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 make sure that their performance objective is met in that way. So I wouldn't say that this is anything different. It's just that it's evolved with technology and over the years, and it's just become a focused activity for any business function.
Okay, I want to delve into this a little bit more, because I remember in the 1990s, I first went through my sales training. And so that's what it was called at that time, all the onboarding and all of the product knowledge and, the sales process, learning all of that, testing you on that before they kind of let you loose and everything. Even at that time, we were able to do cold calling. And so we had certain scripts and all of that. So, have we just renamed sales training into sales enablement? Surely there's more to it than
Of
that.
course, of course, of course. It's just a subset of what an enablement team does. And they, for training, P&D and L&D still exist, right? They are focused on specific professionals and skills development area and interest area and all that. That's not what it is. But this is all kind of, it's just that it's become a subset of sales enablement umbrella, because there's also process. There are individuals within the sales enablement team who are going to look at how can we improve the process, what kind of methodologies we're going to use. Are we going to use value selling or challenger methodology or MEDIC or MEDPIC, for example? How do we want to qualify our leads and opportunities moving forward? What kind of technology can we introduce, and stuff like that. So there's so many different elements within the sales enablement space that comes into that whole hierarchy of umbrella of things.
So what is the purpose of sales enablement? Is it to actually make the process more efficient and more effective?
I think it's to make sellers sell better and easier, or buyers buy easier.
Right. So we've still got the same stats of sales professionals. A good 50% of them do not hit target each year. So if the aim of enablement is to make sure that we're able to sell better, why is it at the front end that stat hasn't really changed in the last 30 years? Why are we still missing the mark?
Yeah. We got to ask the organizations if their ecosystem of things is supporting and enabling them in the right way. But sales enablement has never been the person in charge of meeting the numbers. Like strange, right? We are enablers, right? I mean, can't remember her name, sorry. Okay, but I'll tell you. So there's one famous leader that I spoke to in the sales enablement conference. She was saying we're not responsible for the numbers. We are enablers, we supporters, we make things happen for the sellers organization. But it's ultimately the sales manager and sales directors or sales leaders who have to coach and guide and help their sellers meet the numbers and achieve the numbers. If we are doing it, then what's their role then, right? So we are supporting function here.
Right, then the challenge might be that sales enablement is a cost rather than investment, because at the end of the day, if you are not accountable to the numbers, we're enabling people, but actually we're not responsible, then it becomes a cost rather than an investment.
So let me put it this way. For example, if let's say a sales leader has a 100 million target, okay, and his last goal or milestone was at 80 million, and he has a gap of 20 million. So if we are doing something to enable the sales professionals, that 20 million is where our increment, whatever that we do to help them sell better or perform better, that is our gauge on how much we have contributed. For example, if let's say year on year, if everyone has been hitting 100 million, for example, and the incremental revenue through whatever efforts that sales enablement has invested, to push forward, the selling team, that incremental revenue is what we have contributed to the business. So what I'm saying is ultimately it's the sales leaders, sales managers who have to manage their teams, coach, and help sellers achieve their numbers. Sales enablement team comes in to make sure that their new hires are on time to hit the road running and hit their first revenue targets. Make sure that their seasoned professionals are winning their deals and opportunities and not dropping anything along the way. And make sure that the performance gaps are met through whatever coaching activities or any other programs that's in place. So it could be more than this, or to evaluate and stuff. So in a nutshell, it's more about that difference in sales that we're going to make sure that they hit the numbers on.
Right. So then it means that there is still a measure if you're kind of trying to close the gap in the difference in sales and you're putting in a program of enablement where you see a gap, then there's got to be some kind of relationship between what you may be enabling and actually what they want to achieve, which is always going to be a financial, well, not always, but usually a financial figure at the end of the day. You're trying to close that gap. So there's got to be a relationship between the two.
Yeah. So you said it right? So there's a relationship, and it's very natural that sales leaders always have numbers in their mind, whereas we have a broader picture because we cannot forget our sales operations colleague in here as well. So in some organizations, they are still there, doing their role and looking at several things. So sales enablement team got to work with different cross-functional teams to look at various areas of improvement and not just performance only, but because performance can be through anything. For example, it's not just the seller's gap alone that doesn't help them. Is your pricing strategy right? Is your go-to-market strategy right? Are the customers that you're trying to target, are they okay? Are they correct? How are you positioned against your competitors? What's the market dynamics like? Is 50% of your seller's time taken off by an admin process or an approval process that they cannot spend time with their customers on the phone, for example. So there's a lot of other things that surrounds the ability for an organization to hit their numbers.
Right. So you also mentioned about kind of sales hiring as well, the talent. How much involvement do you have in that part of the process?
Are you referring to my own organization or to my client's organization?
Your client's or organization.
Okay, so we have different type of clients, various type of clients. Some clients engage us for consulting engagement. Some clients engage us for sales education and training needs. We also have a government program that we are running with the Singapore government agency, where we are enabling career conversion, people who are looking to switch their career or people who are planning to enter sales as their preferred career choice. So we are involved to some extent because the government program, for example, we definitely work with a lot of organizations and they would like us to take a look at who they're hiring, or can you be in the interview panel for the final selection. Sometimes they're already selected and we just need to work with them on their performance and the enablement and readiness. For our consulting client, it really depends if they want us to be involved in that hiring process, especially during implementation. If for companies that's funded and they want to grow and scale their business and operations, then they probably would also want us to do this for them. We are not professional recruiters or headhunters, but we can kind of come in from a competency skills perspective, and we sit together, the leadership team.
Right. So I'm really interested. You've been running this organization for over 20 years. So what was the kind of starting point, how it all began?
Sure, that's a great question, and I get it every time. So I started. So I started my career with a company called Sitel, and they were outsourcing company. And I was involved in various inbound and outbound projects, and I was one of the top salesperson in there. And at that point of time, I was an introvert. Even now, I am. You know, But then again, I was hitting my numbers, and I was very good in it. And I saw that. I remember the call quality control guy. During that days we have one QA guy, right, in all call centers. So he used to like sit down and monitor all my calls for hours to see what I was doing, that every call was actually converted. So. At that point of time, that's when I realized that I actually connect very well with my customers, and I was good in engaging with people. It's more about relationship and being yourself, and really helping people with their problems. So I was called in to set up other telemarketing campaigns or projects for other companies. I was also called to help companies implement call centers, like for outbound projects. That's how it started. So I started as that. I became a consultant, and then from there, things happened. I was actually headhunted by Microsoft to kind of work on a regional project, and I was just thrown in with no vendors, no contracts, nothing, and you got to start everything. You got to put everything in place and get it happen. And we want to see the numbers. We want to achieve all the goals and targets by the 5th month or 6th month, and that's about it. So I had to literally do everything from scratch and launch it. So and I saw an opportunity. And then from there, I kind of worked with several other vendors who were supporting a lot of tech companies, big MNCs and stuff. And I saw the need for professional training and certification, because a lot of people who were leaving their jobs or get retrenched or dismissed, and then suddenly they become a sales trainer, so I saw a lot of this happening. So I felt that, there was no proper methodology or structure or endorsement to professional trainings. And that's when I kind of developed further and evangelized. And from Worldwide Teleconsult, it has become Asia Pacific Sales and Marketing Academy today. And we have the University of Sales division focusing on different accreditation, accredited programs.
Excellent. And the other area, we're both fellows of the Institute of Sales Professionals, which is based in the UK. But also are you're chair or leading the organization in Singapore, aren't you? Yeah.
I'm a founding fellow of the Institute of Sales Professionals. It used to be the Association for Professional Sales. I was actually trying to, I'm a shareholder and I'm a managing director of the Asia Pacific region. And they're still, we're working on the international program and expansion strategy at the moment.
Excellent, excellent. So Zeenath, what practical strategies would enable buyers to buy? Because you've talked very much about this in your kind of founding story and why you were so good on the phone. So, bringing it up to date to today, what would you say?
Yeah, I think, if you're talking about buyers, they are humans like us, right? Strip ourselves from our titles and our roles and day-to-day stuff that we do. We are ultimately consumers as well. What are we expecting from a company that we're buying from, right? So authenticity, the quality, the pricing difference, the value, the trust. There's a lot more when we look at a company that we want to, as consumers, these are the basics of everything, right? Then if you're talking about B2B, in B2B, it's more about the trust as well. Like, how do you build the first impression? Why do customers have to choose you versus others, right? The differentiation, you got to articulate that competitive, not competitive, but the value proposition and the difference that you can offer, for them to even work with you, right? Like, I feel that, like a lot of salespeople, when they talk, I read a lot in LinkedIn, even though I don't talk too much, but I read a lot, and I'm like, sounds like every seller have to 100% sell to a buyer kind of thing. They got to hit all the numbers, like, if not, you're not good in something also. I don't agree to that. Not everyone is everyone is fit to buy a product. There is a buyer fit as well, buyer product fit as well. And we got to look at how buyers would actually need our solution. Do they really have, is there something that we can fill a gap on, I think. So Yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what tried and tested strategy would you offer listeners to on how to scale your sales? And I know that you've talked about you know, the ICP and go to market strategy, and that needs to be right. So tell us more about that.
Sure. I think it's all about having a macro and micro level view of things. It starts with a macro level of things. First thing first, if you're starting on something, if you're looking at scaling your operations or your sales, like what is if you already identified a market, for example, or an industry, look at what the gaps are, what are their challenges. Is there something that you can fit in, like, is there something that you can support them with, or even look for a match, like, I have this product, and how can my product serve them or help them or enable them, right? So then identify who could be the person, and because I can tell you, I had one program and I was always aiming the sales leaders for that grants. And then I turned the strategy. I felt that it's not the not the sales leaders or the HR, but I should be speaking to the CFO and the MD instead, for example. So sometimes, who are you chasing, and where are you chasing them? So I think, those are the fundamentals of, making sure that your products have a demand in where you want to serve first.
Mm,
And
mm.
then everything else falls in place. Then when you speak to people, they would require services or solution, and then you can move on from there. So these are the basics, actually.
So what have you seen in the changes and the challenges? I mean, we've gone through quite a challenging time in the last
Mm,
4 to 5 years. So in
mm.
terms of certification and qualification of sales professionals in your region, what are you seeing are the real challenges that you're having to kind of change how you're certificating, or what your focus might be in the certification to ensure that people are still relevant for what the buyer's needs are going forward?
Sure. So I think not everyone would need a certification sometimes, like there are a group of people that may not need, we're working with organizations and individual professionals to really take this seriously and make sure that, they have an endorsement in this, just to make sure that they have gone through everything in structure. Um, so we are also kind of working on assessment methodologies instead, because if you have all the knowledge and content, and if you think that you're very, very good, why not let's do an assessment and let's see where you are with things. I think assessment is a big thing, and we should focus on skills evaluation and gaps, and look at how we can improve that gap areas, actually.
Mm. There's an argument that in sales, it's not so much skills. Skills can be taught and assessed and coached, but actually it's more about the mindset, the willingness to sell, the desire, the motivation, the resilience. So
Yeah,
these are things that are very intrinsic,
of course,
that we often do not certify for or assess for.
of
So
course.
that's the thing that makes the difference between an average salesperson or, a top performing, consistently top performing salesperson. So where do you
Sure.
see that, gap being supported or filled?
Sure. So we do have a sales IQ assessment that's available, which will kind of look at your customer-centric mindset and how would you look at sales from a different case study perspective. And then we assess in terms of how you could fare across and how your mindset is towards customers and sales in selling situations.
Mhm.
So uh, sorry, can you repeat your question? I forgot what your
Well,
question was.
like it's not about skills anymore. It's actually more about
Yeah,
mindset.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, no. So it's both is required. Mindset is definitely required. the attitude, the everything that you just mentioned, everything is definitely required. Skill set is equally important, right? For us to really perform and achieve. Just having a positive mindset, but not knowing what to do and how to do it is not going to work either. So both are important in both ways. So there are, for skills, we do have evidence-based assessments. We do have performance assessments. We have case study assessments. We've got so many assessments, but you're right. When it comes to mindset, there's several ways of evaluating that, or sometimes it's just how you feel and score from your customer's perspective. But we do have sales IQ assessment for that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, our research, and this has been going on for the past 25 years, and assessments on over kind of
So
2
many.
billion. Yeah.
So many. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is that actually skills are easily taught, so that shouldn't be the focus. If you want the right person in place, then it's the intrinsic nature that you need to assess for. And normal assessments do not do that. The predictive validity of CVs is 20%, of interviews is 22%. All of the traditional methods we use to assess people is really doesn't have any predictive validity.
That's true. I have one person, a staff that's working with me for the last 5 years. A lot of people came and left, and people, my family or even my colleagues said, she must be a survivor. She's worked with you for so long, So, but the thing is, right, she's so good. She came in as a fresh graduate with no training, no background on sales, and all she wanted was, I want to learn how to do it. And then she came in fresh, but it's the attitude at the end of the day, the mindset, as you said, like she might not hit her numbers in some weeks, but she keeps going, she wants to do it. She's hungry, and she's very customer centric, and she got the passion for people, and helping people. So, and she got so much passion about what we're doing, education. This kind of things needs to be there. If you cannot sell something without passion as well. And then now we have taught her all the training, we've given her the system, the tools, and given her all the skill set, and she's good. So but it's also like, I wouldn't say that she's a sales superstar, but then again, she's great. She's the kind of mindset and the attitude that's required for one to be successful.
Talking about mindset and attitude, so who is your hero or shero?
Yeah, I think you got that question in there, but I have so many people in the industry that I look up to, people who go beyond their usual selves to really serve the industry and the world and social causes and so many things. But I can only relate to one person that I see every day, and that's my spouse. I've seen him throughout the last 30 years. 30, 40 years, almost 30 years, 30, about 30 to 35 years, and every day without fail, the way he gets up and he perks himself up even in days where he's down, and he goes to work and just to get our rice bowls, right? Like, the enthusiasm and the energy and the discipline, the consistency in getting things done, over and over a period of time, I really salute to him. Like, I tell him I cannot be like him. Sometimes I but yeah, I think, I look at a lot of people from the industry. Yes, they've done so many great things and serving the world and all the social causes, but my day-to-day hero is someone very near to me that I see every day. Not a single day that he will just say, sorry, I can't do it. So
That's
yeah.
lovely. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for that. So Zeenath, who is your hero? How can listeners get hold of you?
Yeah, so I'm available in LinkedIn. So you can search for Zeenath Kuraisha, because I'm the only Zeenath Kuraisha in the whole world of LinkedIn. Yeah. Yeah. So you can look up to me in LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll be sharing with them my LinkedIn profile as well as my email address. Happy to support you guys in any way. And listeners can also kind of tune in. Visit my website, which is www.apacsma.com, APACSMA.com. So yeah, Looking
Excellent.
forward.
Thank you so much for being a guest on Scale Your Sales podcast, Zeenath Kuraisha.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Janice. Bye-bye.
All right, bye. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Scale Your Sales podcast. If you like this discussion, feel free to listen to other episodes or watch the captioned show on YouTube and subscribe to future episodes. I would really appreciate it if you would leave a positive review on iTunes. Thank you.